I really don't know how the government takes something so simple and makes it crazy complex. And of course, I'm talking about Social Security, which is the backbone to most everyone's retirement. So it just makes sense that we need to bring some clarity to this, right? Well, we're going to do that this month on the Retirement Answer Man Show. Hey, and I am your host and your guide, Roger Whitney. I'm excited to have you here. If you haven't listened to the show before, it's probably going to be a little different than what you normally hear, because we're not just about surviving retirement and limping in to retirement, hopefully to have fun later on. We're about rocking retirement and also rocking life right now as well. So we're excited to have you here. And that is right. All of July, what we're going to do is we are going to dive into Social Security. Over the next 4 weeks, we're going to talk about what it is, how a benefit is calculated, how you can calculate your benefit, and some cool tools you can use, some of the impacts of whether you're earning income, and how do you actually go about choosing the best strategy for you. That's what we're going to try to end up with, so you have some clarity and a framework to make a decision for yourself, because this is a big one. Even if you have a lot of assets, Social Security is pretty important. It's a very important part of the whole retirement picture, so it makes sense that we maximize it, right? Well, we can't do any of that until we get, to that all-important disclaimer. Hey, this is real simple. I am an advisor. I work as a fiduciary with clients. I walk life with them, manage assets, and advise them on their financial life and how to rock retirement. I don't know you. You don't know me. So it would be silly for you to take advice from me, and no way I'm going to give you advice without knowing you. So think of this as helpful hints in education. If you're looking for an advisor to walk this journey with you, you can go to rogerwhitney.com and we can set up a call. But until then, make sure you talk to your legal advisor, your tax advisor, or your financial advisor before you make any decisions, because that's just common sense. So let's lay the groundwork in the hot topic segment of what exactly is Social Security and what's the basics, so we can have that baseline. So Social Security is always in the news during especially election seasons. Although we have the midterms coming up here in 2018, we haven't heard a lot about it because there are so many other fun things to talk about. But it definitely percolates up to the top periodically for good reason, because it's a huge benefit. So what I want to do in this hot topic segment is just let's talk about Social Security, the types of benefits, and try to address probably the most important question we're all struggling with is, will it be there and solvent when I want it? Can I depend on this benefit that I'm paying a lot of money into? I think we need to answer that question. So what is Social Security? Well, I'm not going to go through the whole history of it, but it also offers a couple different benefits. So it offers disability benefits. So if you qualified for Social Security and you become disabled, you get to have some base level of income to help provide for yourself. It has dependent benefits, survivor benefits, and then the one that we think most about is retirement benefits. You pay into the system year after year, and you get to have a benefit, an income benefit, starting at age 62 all the way up to age 70 and going on for the rest of your life, depending on when you get it. We'll get into all that. But those are the basic benefits. And the way that we pay for these, just so you know, is through that line item you probably see on your pay stub, assuming you're employed, and that's FICA. Who is FICA? What is FICA? FICA is the Federal Insurance Contribution Amount, which basically makes up payroll taxes. So the way Social Security is funded is employees in the system pay 6.2% into the system. So you're contributing about 6.2% into the Social Security system if you're working and covered by Social Security. And then your employer matches that amount. So in total, you get about 12.4% going into the system every year for you. And that is taxed up until your income hits, I think in 2008, it's $128,400. So after you reach that amount in income, then the Social Security or FICA tax goes away, not the Medicare part, just the FICA part. And a lot of that has to do with what your benefits are never going to be above that, so you've already fully paid into the system. So the big question is, well, let me go to the other items first, and then we'll get to the big question. We'll leave that to the last part of Hot Topic. The maximum benefit someone can receive in 2018 if they're fully retired at full retirement age is just under $2,800 a month. And then there's a family limit as well. And we'll get into how do you actually look at that. Now, it's about 90% of the income for about a third of retirees. So a third of the people that are retired, they look at Social Security as really their retirement income. And that goes to people that haven't been able to save or didn't save. Over one half of people, about 60%, it's about half of their income. So you can see how important Social Security is to the retirement picture. From my planning experience, I'll tell you that even if you are financially independent from a asset and investment standpoint, it's still a great benefit that is powerful in the entire picture. So you still want to be able to maximize it. So we want to know if it's going to be there. So let's answer this question or address it anyway. According to the Social Security Administration, SSA.gov, it's a great website, by the way. We'll talk about it here in a little bit. The Social Security Trust Fund is expected to be exhausted in 2033. That's 15 years away? That's according to the Social Security Board of Trustees. That's scary, right? And you hear headline news of, hey, it's going to be bankrupt in 2022. Well, let's be clear there. In 2022, it's not bankrupt. It just means it has enough income or tax revenue coming in to cover only 75 cents of every dollar it has to pay. So it's not like it's kaput and there's no money because you still have payroll revenue coming in that covers expenses. The problem is it's only going to cover about 75 cents of every dollar that it actually pays out. So that's not necessarily bankrupt. It's just in the red. But that's still scary, right? In a lot of ways, we know this is not sustainable because of demographics and baby boomers are getting older and the benefits are pretty stout. Most people are getting out a lot more than they put in. And there's less younger workers to continue to contribute as baby boomers get older. So, we've heard a lot about that. So how do you fix this? First off, it's not going to go bankrupt. It's just going to be in the red in 2033. And that is very concerning. But there are very simple ways of fixing this or shoring it up to make it work for a lot longer. A lot of the question is nobody wants to deal with it because somebody's going to have to pay for it in some way. And this is a political solution in a lot of ways, which, well, we know how that's going, don't we? All right. So how do you fix this? Well, one is you could raise the earnings base, meaning that right now you're only taxed. You only have that FICA tax up to $128,400. That goes up a little bit each year. But if you increase that more than just simply by inflation or whatever calculation they use to increase it, that's going to bring more money into the system. In a lot of ways, Social Security is a little bit of a redistribution system. So this would just allow the people that are having high incomes to fund the system at more levels to help support people that aren't making near as much or aren't as prosperous. But that's one way that we could tweak it that could have a huge impact. Another is we could raise the payroll taxes. So this would go across the board to everybody. Again, the Social Security Trust Board of Trustees says, if you increased the payroll taxes, that FICA tax, by 1.3% for workers and employers, which would put it at 16.2%, the projected deficit and solvency would go out for about 75 more years. So if we increased it by 1.3%, 1.3 on you and 1.3 on the employer, well, we've just pushed the problem out another 75 years. Now, I'm not suggesting that we do that. I'm just showing you the power that we have to actually fix this if there's the political will to actually do it. Another possible way is to reduce benefits. Let's all say our response to that one. Boo! Right? Another is to modify the cost of living adjustments. We're going to get into that next week because that's a cool thing about Social Security benefits is that they increase every year according to CPI. Now, there have been some years here recently where there was no increase because inflation has been so subdued, but we'll look at that in the future. But another way would be to modify that increase in payment. We could raise the retirement age. We've done that before. Or we could close file strategy loopholes. And we'll talk about those in the last session of this Social Security focus about what are the strategies usually for married couples. They have more options. And recently, the government just closed a filing strategy loophole that allowed a couple to maximize benefits a little bit more. So that is another strategy. So any of these ways or combination of some of these could quickly shore up the system for a long time. So my opinion is if you're over 50, I'm not too worried about Social Security as a benefit. I think ultimately a combination of some of the things that we just discussed is going to occur. Another thing would be means testing on how much gets taxed based on your assets or based on your income. That could be another one that we didn't mention. So you could have some means testing in that sense. But in terms of it actually going away, personally, I'm not that worried about it. For us here over 50. Below that, we don't really know what the system's going to look like because something will definitely have to be done. So for the purposes of this month, I don't want to dive into whether it's going to be there or not and all the worry about that. I want to dive into what is the current benefit. Let's understand a little bit of how it works and give you a framework. Hopefully, we all together can create a framework to deciding what's best for us. All right. So let's go to the practical planning segment and talk a little bit about how benefits are calculated. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. We're talking Social Security. Sometimes this can be so dry. So we're going to try to stay on point, but not put you to sleep. My wife says I snore. I've never heard it. So I don't know if she's lying to me or just trying to pull my chain or something. I don't know. Anyway, so in a practical planning segment, I just want to talk on a high level of how Social Security benefits are calculated. How do you actually get qualified to get these benefits? Because not everybody does. So we can have this baseline. And then next week, FYI, teaser, we're going to dive into some of the calculators so you can understand what your benefit is and how to start thinking of strategies. So first off, how do you qualify for benefits? Because you gotta qualify. To qualify for benefits, what you do is you earn credits through your work. So there's 4, these are quarters, so we call them quarters or credits. And there's 4 per year. And for every $1,320 of income, you get a credit. So when you've earned, $5,280, you've earned 4 credits for that year. So most people need like 40 credits earned over their lifetime to receive retirement benefits. And it's a little bit different for disability and survivor benefits. We're not going to get into that too much right now. So 40 quarters of wages will qualify you. And what you get, once you're qualified, let's talk about how do they actually calculate what you're going to get. So your benefit is determined by 4 big factors. Number 1 is your work history, or 35 years. Your earnings history. So what they're going to do is they're going to take the highest 35 years of your earnings to calculate your benefit. We'll get to that in a second. So here's an important point. If you're 66, you have about 48 years of work history, right? Most of that history, you're probably not earning a ton of money, right? So I'm looking at mine. I pulled up my Social Security statement. I'm going to tell you how you can do yours. And when I look at 1989, when I was a senior in high school, I earned like $7,900. Right out of college, let's see, when did I graduate? I graduated in, wow, is that really what it was? 91. I got married in 90. It was like $6,200. Why did she marry me? Next year, I made $15,000. And then, 92, I guess I got a real job. I made $41,000. So those are, so all the way from 84, which is the beginning of my work history. First year I worked outside of, working for your parents, up until 92. Those work years, if they're included in those 35 years, are really going to bring down the average. And we'll dive into this next week, the week after, we're going to talk about calculating your benefit. Because think about this. So you got that early end of it where you didn't earn near as much as you're likely earning now. But then if you retire prior to your full retirement age, well, you're going to miss out on those most likely high earnings years. So let's say you really only had 33 years of earnings. Well, what will happen is they're going to calculate the 35, even if you only have 33 earnings years. What they're going to do is they're going to put zeros in for those years that they don't have income for. Because you imagine how that's going to bring down the average. So this is an important point to understand, because if you're going to retire early, you're going to probably or likely include those early years where you're not earning near as much as you are now, or you're going to have zeros to fill in the blanks, which is really going to bring down your average earnings. which is going to hurt your benefit. So they use all of this to calculate what they call the average indexed monthly earnings amount, AIME, AIM with an E. Government loves to make this complicated. And then the AIM determines what they call your primary insurance amount, which is sort of the number you see on your statement. Now let's talk just a second about statements. We're going to do that in the Smart Sprint and tell you how to go get yours if you haven't, because I used to mail them and they might have started again, but it's great to get on there and look at it anyway. When you look at the benefit, the estimated benefit on your statement, and this is an important point, that full benefit that you see as an estimate assumes you're earning roughly what you're earning now until you reach full retirement age. So if you plan on retiring before full retirement age, that number's not going to be right. It may be a lot lower because of zeros or those early earnings years that get averaged in. So that's an important point. And I'll tell you how to get yours in here in a little bit. Now, the second benefit that is a base benefit when it comes to retirement is the spousal benefit. And this can be an important one. And later on this month, we'll talk about some strategies and considerations when you're trying to figure out how to maximize this. So spousal benefit, eligibility. So it's your current spouse, right? You got your current spouse is eligible for spousal benefits. You may be able to claim spousal benefits on an ex if you were married over 10 years and you're not remarried prior to age 60. So that's the qualification for that. Now, as a spouse, you must be at least 62 to file, and you cannot receive benefits until your spouse, the one that you're claiming benefits off of, files for their own benefit. Now, an ex-spouse doesn't have to wait. They can file as long as the ex is over 62, I believe. And what you're going to get, if you're eligible, is you're going to get either your own benefit based off of your work history or 50% of your spouse's as calculated at their full retirement age. Now, what that means is, though, it's calculated off of their full retirement age, but you file at 62, your benefit's going to be reduced in a similar fashion that we'll talk about in this series. So I want to give you some suggested actions for this week related to Social Security. So number one is go to ssa.gov and register on the site. It was very simple. I did my own. And download your latest Social Security statement. And maybe we'll do a YouTube video on how to read this. That might be fun. Let me know if you have an interest in that. And download your statement. I think it's a good idea to do every year and just keep a digital file for them. And check your earnings record. So it's sort of fun, actually. It's going to have every year of reported income. So mine starts in 1984 when I was a junior. No, I swear I was a sophomore. I think I was working for my parents. I was a junior in high school when I stopped working for my parents. I worked at Chuck E. Cheese was my first job. And yes, I dressed up as Chuck E. Cheese. That's a whole nother story. But it's sort of fun. I earned, like I said, just under $2,000. Man, I felt rich back then. And then it'll show every single year of earnings between when you started and today. Sort of cool to see. But you want to check that because if there's a discrepancy, you have the right to go and say, hey, this isn't right. Maybe it's higher than what they're reporting. So that's important. So that's my big suggested action is go get registered with Social Security, and we'll talk about some of the tools they have along with other calculators next week. All right. Are you awake? This is going to be so exciting. Beat the heat with Social Security. All right. Let's go get happy. Hey, welcome to the Happy Lab, where we noodle on how to be happy. Well, I'm by myself today. Nicole is on vacation. It's summertime. I think they went to D.C. to go check out the Capitol. So it's just me. So the other day, I was pulling out of my driveway, and I looked. I didn't see anybody. So I'm pulling out, and this yellow Corvette comes flying up. I say flying up. He would disagree with that. And I'm like, I didn't see him. So I stop, and he pulls up next to me, just sort of give me the business about, hey, man, what you doing? Didn't you see me? And I said, sorry, man, I didn't see you, and it seemed like you're going fast. And he didn't appreciate that. And he called me some words, and I'm like, sorry, man, you have a great day. But I responded a little bit, and I started to escalate, and then I pulled back. And afterwards, I was examining the situation in my head, because that's what I do. And I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of room for grace. Whether you're religious or not, grace is a great concept of, we're all human, we all make mistakes, and it's like, no worries, keep going, rather than escalating. So my suggestion to you to live a happier life is the next time somebody slights you, whether intentional, unintentional, you'll probably never know. Rather than escalate, just let it roll off and say, you have a great day, and go on your way. You're going to end up being happier, and it ends up not feeling silly because you got mad. And So I think I did all right. So there's my tip for being happy. Now let's go get a set of smart sprint.
On your marks, get set.
Okay, we're going to set a smart sprint to take a little tiny baby step to create a great life and retirement. So in the next 7 days, I'm going to be a little selfish here, but really I'm going to be a little selfless as well. Go to youtube.com/retirement answer man. That's our YouTube channel, and subscribe, because every Friday I come out with a video talking about concepts from the book, from my journey of walking life with clients. Since we've switched to this series format, which I think everybody's loving, there's a lot of random topics and bits of wisdom that we don't get to talk about near as much. And that's where I do it. And I have a lot of fun doing it. And hopefully I make it entertaining. So if you want to just get some pearls of wisdom that might make you think a little bit, go to youtube.com/retirement answer man and subscribe to the channel. And you can, check that out there. I think you'll enjoy it. All right. Excited about Social Security? It's a big topic. You have questions on it? Go to rogerwhitney.com. There's a place there for you to ask a question, and we'll try to either do those in video or have a special show for questions only. Next week, we're going to talk about Social Security calculators and tools you can use to understand what your benefits might be and maybe how you can maximize them. Hope you have a wonderful 4th of July.
We appreciate you joining us today for this episode of Retirement Answer Man. Be sure to visit rogerwhitney.com/answers to access the Retirement Answer Library with over 30 checklists to help you make the most of the only life you have. Remember, you have more power than you realize to create an amazing life starting today with Retirement Answer Man. The opinions voiced in this material are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All performance referenced is historical and no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Have a wonderful day.